Hi, welcome back to the Resilience Garden Project through Seed Savers Exchange for Beginner Gardeners. Today we're going to talk about successive planting, which basically just means how to make the most of your garden space through a couple of strategic planting plans. We're back in the evaluations and trial gardens here at our Heritage Farm in Seed Savers Exchange. It's a beautiful day in mid-July right now, which is perfect time to plant our second crop. So succession planting can touch on a few different subjects, but it basically means one following the other. So for this case, we have had this beautiful head lettuce in the garden that is past its prime, and we were not going to be saving it for seed this year, so we can utilize the small amount of garden space that we have to produce as many crop harvests as we can. Sometimes, depending on your climate, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can even be 4. So some things when you go to successively plant, you can either successively plant the same variety, so let's say it's beets or carrots or lettuce, kind of shorter season crops that mature in about 30 days. You can plant smaller sections of those multiple times, 3 or 4 times. So let's say it's radishes, and you plant just a tiny bit of radishes, a square foot, let's say. And then a week later, you plant another square foot. Now this ensures that you have a small but peak harvest of the same vegetable or fruit throughout the growing season. And you're not harvesting 10 pounds of radishes at once that you can't eat or maybe don't have the room to store. So that's one type of successive planting. Another type of successive planting is just putting a different variety or group into someplace that you have just harvested from. So in this case, that's what we're going to do. Important notes for that is make sure that you don't follow the plant that you have, so in this case a lettuce, with another lettuce. This will cut down on pest pressure, but it'll also pest and disease pressure, but it'll also ensure that you are utilizing your soil nutrients efficiently. So for this case, we are going to be following this lettuce with a red core chantenay carrot. This will make it so that the pests and disease that maybe already started harboring in the soil here won't have a new host to grow stronger on, but it also means that the nutrients that the lettuce really thrives on are not exactly like what the carrot needs, and so they're able to balance each other that way. So now that we've cleared the space that we want to replant, and this would be a good time to add compost to your soil, especially if it's following something that normally takes a lot of nutrients for what we call a heavy feeder, especially for nitrogen from your soil. Since we just had lettuce here and we composted heavily at the beginning of the season, we're just going to go ahead and plant our second crop in here. Now when you're choosing your second crops or even your third crops, you still have to keep in mind the same rules from the direct seeding video, which is days to maturity, frost date, and soil temperatures that the seed likes to germinate in and general conditions. Some seeds don't really like to germinate in this hottest soil. I mean, we're in July 10th right now, so it's pretty warm out. So you have to make sure you set yourself up for success and plant seeds appropriate for this second round of growing. So today we are going to do that with the red cord chantenay carrot, which is a lovely carrot that we are going to sow one succession in today, and then a week later we will be putting a second succession in here. This assures that we will have carrots to eat for many months to come, and we won't have to harvest a bunch or figure out what to do with a bunch of them all at once. We can also pick them at their prime, which is very, very tasty. So we have our tag all written out here with the date. I'm going to put that at the front. And then when you're working in small spaces in succession, always make sure to label where that planting stops. So I just have a blank tag right here so I can know and remember where I've direct seeded, especially plants that take a while to germinate like carrots. So we're just going to plant a few rows in here with the same techniques from the direct seeding video. We'll look at the back of our packets. It says direct seed a 1/2 inch apart at a 1/4 inch depth in rows 16 to 24 inches apart, and then thin to 2 to 4 inches apart as well. Now, for a lot of home gardeners, succession planting is all about utilizing your space well. There's a lot of growing tips online of how this can be done most effectively. One of my favorites is taking something like a spring pea that you need to trellis anyways, and after that's done, which is about this time of the year when peas, it's just getting too hot for peas, you can replace that with another crop variety that will use that same trellis system and complement the nutrients that, let's say, the pea took. This can be like a squash or a zucchini or even a cucumber. Thank you for tuning in again for our Beginner Gardener series with Seed Savers Exchange and the Resilience Garden Project. Succession planting can be your best friend in a garden, especially if you have small areas to grow in, and especially if you don't have a lot of storage space for those crops as well. But things to keep in mind, just planning out your season, planning out your seeds, and as always, making sure your soil is happy and healthy and ready to grow your food. Thank you.